and welcome to part 9 of Dragonstar Varnir's Madness Route, where today we got a bit of a boss apocalypse coming up, because we've got 4 boss encounters in this one video. 2 optional, 1 mandatory, and then a last optional. Starting with this one here, there's 2 optional bosses in each of the Star Temples. One you get for beating it, and one that you're given as a quest where you have to go through the whole dungeon again. So we're starting with the one you get once you beat the dungeon for the first time and you get the key for the locked door. And it's a boss we've seen before if you've seen the main playthrough, but at least for me, these 4 bosses in this part are the bosses where I really noticed the increase in difficulty going up to hard. Not just because of specialized attacks, but because of AI, because of defense, because of how much damage they can do. So many other variables, sometimes even different attack structures. Like, if they have a pattern of attacks they do, their pattern is different to be more vicious on harder difficulties. That I really noticed that I was playing on hard when recording this video compared to previous ones. Because some of these enemies really go out for blood. There's a point later on where an enemy... and I don't know how the crit rate odds work in this game, for like what determines how often you get a critical hit. But an enemy gets a critical hit 3 times in a row and manages to kill Charlotta in a single turn because of it, bringing her from full health to death, because it just targets her for all 3 of its attacks and all 3 are crits. So they do like 700 to 800 damage each, and she just doesn't live it. That's later on though. We got to talk about this first one, which the main trick with this one is don't have people on the same row, and just space out your healing, because Rockstar can hit several people if they're close enough to one another, and that can be row based as well. So in that instance there, where it tried to target both Vanessa and Charlotta, because they were on the opposite rows, it didn't touch Charlotta, it only hit Vanessa. Whilst if they were on the same row, no, it would have hit both of them because of the 2x2 range it has. Additionally, it's weak to wind, but don't worry about that too much if you don't have everyone using wind. Physical attacks are also a good way to go, because I think it's weak to slash. Not that I can get the check, because Past Me just kind of whizzed through it. Past Me just got into a pattern and stuck to it. It's either this boss or the next one that's weak to slash, and I end up primarily using that as my way of dealing with it. The 4th boss that we're fighting today is only weak to physical blunt weapons, and there's only one character that has it. I think it's only Vanessa has blunt weapons, so, you know, make the most of that.
I'll do my best.
And even then, I don't think I do. Because that boss in particular's evasion stat is through the fucking roof, especially on hard. That's the other thing that is starting to become more, not frustrating, because I still enjoy the challenge, it's just, it can tick you off a little when it happens, is that enemies' hit and evasion rate does go up a little bit per difficulty climbing up. Not by too much, but enough that you'll notice it every time you bump up the difficulty. Like, I've been doing a few experimental like run-throughs on Expert, which you unlock for beating the game once, and Inferno, the DLC difficulty, to see if this trend continues, and oh yes it does. The hit and evasion rate of enemies just keeps on creeping up every difficulty, to the point where on Inferno it gets pretty damn frustrating. I would not recommend going through this game on its hardest setting. Like Expert, you might want to tackle just because you unlock it when you beat the game, so you can make it your New Game Plus difficulty. But Inferno, the DLC one, it feels like it's just there to be that haha, got ya kind of difficulty that just fucks you over. Speaking of getting fucked over, Manessa's dead. So you see I'm having a slight moment where I'm having to consider my options and look through my stuff. Something that is worth mentioning, because it will come up later, so, you know, keep it in mind. You cannot use, or at least I don't have any SP recovery items that can be used in battle right now. All of my SP recovery skills or items are all things that say can only be used outside of battle. This is significant because the 4th of the 4 bosses we're fighting today drains all of my SP resources, and it's very down to the wire in surviving to get through it. But we managed to take it down and get our level up, bumping everyone up to 31, which is a pretty cozy level to be at this point in the game. I know we've had a bit of a bump up because, you know, the little sisters and whatnot, but we're still getting there. We also get the Earth Dragon stuff, which you can see after a bit of toying around, I eventually equip on Zephy so I can rearrange everything else for everyone else. The stat drop in physical defense is so tiny, you might as well go for it for that magic defense in that situation. But moving on the other side of dungeon, hey, look at that! That's the giant dragon Zuba mentioned. I've never seen a dragon like that before. What's the matter, Charlotta? I sense a different kind of magic power than the kind that dragons or witches carry. What kind of magic power? What? Why? Leponette, did you see something? What's going on? I didn't see anything. More accurately, I can't see anything. You can't? Really? Ah, it's looking at us. I don't think we have any more time to talk. Right, let's get rid of it so we can continue. Got it. Alright, then let's do this. Alright, let's have another Ragnar battle. And I want to take an opportunity because I feel like it can be more noticed now I'm recording at 1080p compared to the 720p I used to. That I love the subtlety of the aesthetic on every single living thing in this game. Like, it's noticeable in the in the actual proper cutscenes, you know, all 3 or 4 of them it feels like, where you can kind of see it. But everything has a art style choice where it makes it look more like it came out of a comic book. And I don't know if that's the intention and that's what they were going for, but that's at least the vibe I get. When you look close on any detail, especially like that dragon there, there's a texturing on its wings and on its body that makes it look like it has like some linings that you'd see on comic strips. Like, you know, the linings for sketches that you'd see on comic strips and such. Maybe it's more that it's just they keep some of its sketch aesthetic on it, and less that it's trying to be a comic strip. That's probably more what it's like. It's got more of its sketch lines still present on everything that's been drawn. Because it's the same with the main cast. The next time there's a close-up on any of the characters' hair, or like in one of the previous videos when we first got to the end of this dungeon, that's a good example. In the last video, I think it was. There's a point where it zooms in pretty close to Charlotta, and her hair is a perfect example of what I mean. Also, P-Explosion is terrifying on hard, so take out its tail so it can't use it immediately. Because if that happens to hit a character that's weak to fire, they will die from it. I've yet to see someone survive if it hits weakness. So the fact that it did that much damage on, you know, the fire character, where it's going to do less damage to her anyway, is worth mentioning. So you need to get rid of the source of the problem as soon as possible.
Let's go.
Hence why I went for the tail and got very lucky with a 9,000 damage critical hit, giving me a free stun, so I get an opportunity to rearrange and organize my stuff and get a bit of a top up on healing.
Thank you.
But once, like, if you decide for whatever baffling reason to not go for the tail straight away, P-Explosion is the ultimate brick wall you'll be facing, because it can one-shot members of your party, especially if they're not at full health. Like, it's such a dangerous attack, and the thing is that it can whip it out after doing another attack. Like, even then, like, we've got rid of its strongest attack. Flame Breath still did 1,100. And Zephy's got, I think, the highest defense of the party right now. That's how much of a threat this boss has become compared to last time. Because the first time we fought it, yes, it was troublesome, but it was not this. And it's going to continue when we get to the later extra dragons, because I'm assuming it will let me, because I don't know when some of these extreme effects of the madness scale really start to kick in. I'm going to be fighting every optional fight I can as long as we go. It also means a certain dungeon where I skipped an entire floor of it later on and then came back and did it after the time limit ends, will be able to fully clear out and explore the first time round when we get to it. So that will be nice, because I've never actually done it that way, because I'm always usually under the pressure of the time limit. I just race through it. In the same vein as that we'll be able to take it slow through the Forest of Death much later on. The absolute gargantuan forest that takes half a lifetime to get through. And hopefully won't make my game crash again, because that... I don't know how many of you guys will recall that, but I complained a bunch because on the Forest of Death, I did the entire fucking forest. Went to do one encounter because it was against an enemy I hadn't fought yet, because it was just for some reason that enemy refused to spawn until that point. The game crashed in that encounter and I lost the whole thing. So I had to do it all over again. And the Forest of Death is like a 50-minute long dungeon, so that wasn't fun. But it's alright, going into this playthrough, I know it's a game problem and not a console problem. It's just something to do where the game essentially soft locks itself if the variables surrounding the startup of an encounter don't match up the way it wants to. Which sounds overly technical. The easiest way to trigger it is have an enemy that isn't aggro on you get an advantage attack on you. Because it isn't aggro on you, so how the fuck did it get the advantage? Because an enemy to get an advantage on you in a spawn, it has to hit you from behind. But if it doesn't have aggro, it's just idly waddling around in like a circle usually, very slowly. So for it to catch you on your back is extremely unlikely unless you're deliberately doing it or not paying attention. And that seems to, not consistently, but sort of seem to trigger it. Like, at least with my testing of it, like if I did it say 10 times, about 2 of those times it crashed. And so it's not enough to say it's consistent and that it will happen every time, and maybe I just got unlucky. But it is something to be wary of, that this game will kind of soft lock on itself if you set up an encounter scenario that the game can't make sense of, or at least can't easily make sense of. But I digress. We've got this boss fight in front of us that I should really be talking about. The biggest threat is this tail, to be honest. Yes, the flame breath will do around 1,000 damage each time, but if you have someone dedicated to healing, which is in my case, I've got Manessa dedicated to healing, you should be okay. If you get really unlucky and it lands a bunch of criticals and kills someone, have one different character have a revival skill. Because you will have revival items by this point, so it's not the end of the world if you need to use one. But it's better to have someone else be your reviver compared to your healer. So then if your healer goes down, you're not screwed because you can't both heal or pick up anyone. Which is why I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, we'll see it as we go, I've got Zephy got relief, which is the revival skill, whilst Charlotta is still the dedicated healer because of her magic stat. Which is very similar, I think, to how I handled it in the original playthrough, but hey, comfort zones be a thing, especially when you're in hard mode, you're going to stick with what you're comfortable with if it works.
Are you okay?
And it's always worth mentioning as well, because of the system where every skill has a wait time on it, and the bigger the wait time, the longer it takes before your turn comes around again. Hence the bar on the top right corner of the screen, where every time you pick an action, you see how it's moving around, depending on how big the wait time is. Healing skills and buffing skills don't have big wait times, so you can sometimes squeeze in multiple heals or multiple buffs before the enemy gets their next turn. And it might be worth paying attention to that if someone who's in danger is going to perhaps get to go again before the enemy goes again, so you can address the health stats of their danger later instead of panic dealing with it now. But you can rearrange your priorities to make things work the way you want to. Ew, we were able to defeat it somehow, but I don't think you'd be that intense. Yeah, no kidding. That P explosion, you leave that sticking around and not break the tail, you're in trouble. No wonder Zuba killed that dragon with the intelligence of weakling. We made it, though. That thing's intestines must be huge. Charlotta, did you figure something out? She said it's a different magical power than us, right? Right, I can't say for sure, though. But if my hunch is correct, there may be more dragons with different magical attributes. Oh, come on, are you going to sit there and tell me there are more crazy ones out there? But if there are other dragons like this, it won't be good for the forest's ecosystem. Wouldn't it be dangerous leaving it be? True. If it goes out to the city, the humans are no match against it. Do you have a hunch where it might be? I get where you guys are coming from, but I told you already, I don't know much yet. I'll let you know once I've gathered my thoughts. Okay. Well, first let's get back to the den and report to Zuba. We did complete her mission. Right, maybe Zuba may know something. A dragon with a different magical attribute, huh? Where did it even come from? Even if we defeated it, we have so much to figure out yet. I know that's not what the last line said, but past me clicked off it before I finished reading it, so I just assumed.
I can use this.
Thanks, past me. When I'm recording, I whisper the line of every character to give myself enough time. Because if you read it in your head, you will read in your head faster than you'll read out loud, and you'll never be quick enough. I learned that back in, I think it was Celeste. Like, Celeste was my big punishment for that. I learned that the hard way. Anyway, back with the main plot. We're out of the forest. I think we'll be okay now. This place is so barren. It's like I'm at the very end of the world. Did we really have to come this far out? It's so dark out here. Damn ravens. They think they can just do whatever they want right in our backyard. They should use all their energy to beat each other up for once. Quiet, someone's coming. Help me! I think there's someone behind him. 2 nights of Requiem, huh? I'd imagine some of the ravens with that dragon aren't that far behind. Let's hide. We don't need to get involved. Wait, is that? You idiot! Don't let them see you. They might recognize you. I knew it. It's Gran. I can't remember the voice I gave Gran. Damn it, I can't help him. Is someone there? Hey, what troop are you from? Help me! A dragon's after me! Still kill me! It's me. Zephy? You're a damn fool! I told you to hide! Very well. I suppose we can use this opportunity to get information. What happened? Where are the other knights? We ran into the ravens, and we were just arguing at first. But then, I don't even know how they did this, but they summoned a dragon! Everything went into chaos after that! So they really were controlling that dragon. Can you tell us more about that? How were the ravens able to summon it? The only thing on my mind was escaping, you stupid witch! All I know is they were using the dragon to attack us! You're more useless than I thought. Shut the hell up! Even if I did know how they were doing it, I'm never gonna give that information to a witch. Careful, Gran. Are you injured? The dragon came this far? Oh, god damn. What's the matter? Done playing? There's a smile on my face to watch you prissy knights running for your lives. You witches are here too? Oh, don't tell me you keep crying to them for help. How dare you? We'd never ask a witch for help. My throat is dying. You heard that, Zephy? Let's go. But... You heard her, kid. If you get involved, I'm just gonna feed you and your ex-friend to the dragon. Don't let me stop you, though. So you're not just going after the knights now? Witches too? The ravens have no need to be making witches their target. Well, Ruby Eye has ordered us to refrain from killing witches, but if the dragon killed them on accident, that's out of my control. You can't reason with a hungry beast. Food is food. You bastard! Zephy, don't let him get to you. Did you forget? The knights abandoned you. That's right, they turned their backs on you in a heartbeat. Why stick up for them now? So what's the plan? Damn, everyone's right. I'm with the witches now. Fine, let's get out of here. I'm sorry for this, Gran. I hope you make it. Looks like they left you. Time to have some fun. Oh, come on, fight back a little, will ya? At least try and make it interesting. You're a knight, act like it. Damn it, I won't die so easily. Knowing Gran, he's going to try and stop Durandal. But Gran can't handle him on his own. Hey, why'd you stop? Oh, brother, don't tell me. Sorry, I can't just leave him there. Hey, wait! That freaking idiot! I think that man was Zephy's friend. No matter how much has changed, it's probably hard for Zephy to abandon him. Well, now what? Should we leave Zephy? We can't. He's one of us now. Very well, let's head after him. Ah! Not bad. You're putting up a good fight. You do seem hurt, though. Let's see how long you last. Ah! Gran, you can't beat him with brute force. Zephy, why? Leave him to me. Get out of here. Damn it, Zephy, you're always doing this to us. Alright, let's hurry up and get this over with. Everyone, why are you... Don't you know? You're one of us now. Manessa. Come on, stay alert unless you want to be eaten. Thanks, everyone. This means a lot. It's coming.
I'm going to win this.
Time for the Aqua Dragon, the third boss encounter, even though it's just a normal encounter with bumped up health to count as one.
Let's go.
And you'll know that because as soon as I weaken it a little bit, I immediately shift my priority to trying to eat the damn thing. Because I'm like, this thing has way too much health, but it still counts enough as a normal enemy that you can get a Devourer off on it.
Hang in there.
So after a bit of a few buffs, just as a safety precaution, I realise it's got confusion gas, so don't ever have everyone on the same row, because if it hits both of you, that's 2 teammates you will lose control of instead of just 1, or maybe even 3 if they're all on the same row, you know, heaven forbid.
My turn.
Just try and, like, soften it up a little bit, I suppose, and then when you feel comfortable trying to push for the Devour, push for the Devour.
Thanks.
Let's go.
Despite being the only one that's mandatory of the three, it's definitely the easiest. Because it's just a normal enemy with bumped up stats. It's not anything special. Even on hard, I'd say this one is the manageable fight of the lot we've done today. But in this instance here, what I'm doing is that whilst the enemy's up there, I'm shifting the rows in the hopes that it will stay high up enough to allow Zephy to attack it physically without jumping on anyone else's row. But the problem was, failing to follow my own advice, I wasn't paying enough attention to the turn order in the top right, and so wasn't aware of the fact that it was going to go before me, and so it destroyed the plan because it just went down and attacked Minessa. Thankfully, it didn't use confusion gas because that would have put me in trouble. But now it's below half and it's starting to weaken, and it's inflicted by the stun.
I'll make you disappear.
Because I used paralyzed. I think it's called paralyzed road. I start trying to push for the devour because 74% got it.
I won't ever lose.
And there goes that encounter. Is it over? Even though he can influence the dragon, it doesn't seem like he's in total control. But how did he do that? I don't see Durandal anywhere. He must have slipped away during the battle. Huh, coward. He must have run for it once he noticed he was at a disadvantage. Thanks again, everyone. You really helped me out. Of course. We weren't going to let you fight alone. You should go check on your friend. Right. I'm not sure he'll even want my help, now that I'm a witch. Gran, are you okay? Yeah, I'm alive somehow. You really saved me back there. Well, I almost abandoned you before. I don't really deserve your thanks, you know. It's alright, you came back, but Zephy, more than that. I saw you using magic during the battle. Are you really a witch now? I wouldn't be able to fight dragons without this power. I can't believe you're really a... Whoa, are you okay? Yeah, I think. It hurts, but I think with a little rest it'll recover. But I want you to get out of here while you can. I don't think I have the energy to chase after witches right now. Gran, he knows I'm his enemy. But even still, he wants to let us go. Thank you, Gran. I need to tell you something, though. What is it? I don't know if it's true or not, but the Empire, they're sending people to check out your old house. They might be onto you. What? I think the Empire is becoming increasingly interested in how you became a witch. I gained this power because of some freak mutation after drinking that dragon's blood. What do they hope to find in that house? All of my memories of my parents. Would I be surprised if the Empire ruined them by ransacking our old home? I'm sorry I couldn't do anything for you. It's alright, Gran. It's not your fault. I'm just grateful you told me. It's forbidden to share information like this with the enemy, and yet, he did. Now hurry and go. I don't know when the other knights are going to be here. Good idea. You take care, Gran. You too, Zephy. Don't die out there. I really want to go check up on my house, but as long as we're on this journey, I don't think I'll be able to right now. Are you alright leaving him there? Yeah, I'm sure if he rests a little while, he'll be able to regroup with the knights without any problems. That was really nice of Zephy, wasn't it? For them, maybe. I don't know how nice it is for us. We need to get out of here immediately. The knights could be after us before we know it. I don't think we need to worry about that. At least not here. He wouldn't snitch on us. I hope you're right. Anyway, what are you doing? I was looking at this dragon we defeated. I wanted to see how the ravens were able to control it. I thought I might find some clues. I see. Were you able to find anything? Not a thing. At the very least, we can eat it. Oh, what's this? What is it? There's something shiny on its claw. I think it's some kind of equipment. Maybe it belonged to a knight. Lapinette, do you want to bring it with you? Me? You like that kind of stuff, right? It's a little dirty, but after a good wash, it'll be as good as new. It does look pretty neat, doesn't it? Okay, I'll take it. There's nothing else that looks out in the ordinary here. Why don't we head out now? Right, dealing with the knights is one thing, but I don't really want to stick around to deal with the ravens again. Let's get out of here. And now we get to proper start this dungeon 24 minutes into this video. To be fair, I'm doing all the optional stuff for the first half. And we're not actually going to be doing the entirety of this dungeon in this video, because the final boss encounter we do in this video, when we get to it, takes up the rest of the video. And after that, I was like, you know what? I don't want to do the rest of this dungeon right now because this video is already going to be 37 minutes long. I would rather pull back and retreat and then do the rest of the dungeon next time. But this dungeon, if you recall, is the first one that I got super nervous because it actually takes you a while to clear it all out. If you're going for, not 100%, because there isn't really much of a 100% completion design outside of getting all the dragons, but if you're trying to get all the dragons, you're doing several playthroughs because there's a normal ending specific dragon. The 3 kids are technically Madness exclusive dragons, and you want all 3 of them in one run.
Sense the dragon.
And obviously the true ending is the true ending with its own unique fights along the way as well. So you're doing 3 runs if you want every single dragon in the game, and that's ignoring the super rare ones, because there are in every dungeon 1 or 2 dragons that almost never show up. And if you want to get all the dragons, you're going to be grinding for a while. You can actually see that boss. We just turned away from it. It's that big ass motherfucker with the big wings that looks like it's straight out of Monster Hunter that we're approaching. That is the mini boss. That's optional for a quest that we're going to be taking on. And it's like the hardest fight we've done so far because this motherfucker is practically immune to all magic. Even if you give him an elemental stone to make it so he's tied to an elemental affinity, all magic damage will do around 1 or 2 HP worth of damage to him. Your only option is to go physical. Also, we overpowered the enemy enough that we one-shot it, yet this game is far enough in that Charlotta got a level up out of it. But here it is already. So yes, this fight takes 10 minutes. The Invisible. The way this fight works is that physical is the only way you're decently hurting this thing. The problem is that it's got a painfully high evasion stat. So most of your physical attacks will be missing. So you've just got to keep trying until you get lucky. If you try and push for magic, you'll do 0, 1, or 2 damage, depending on whether it's weak to it or whether you're in your dragon form and the damage roll. You won't be hurting it. Your primary focus is physical.
Ready?
Every now and then you're going to see me push for a Devour, but the fact that this fight is another 10 minutes should be your biggest indicator of it. I have 0 luck with it. I get put into a last resort situation in this fight because I get this guy nearly dead to discover it has a healing skill that heals about 75% of its health, undoing most of my work. And when it does that is when I severely shift gears. There's an item called a Nightmare Call that you can buy that I just happen to have in my inventory. Using it can put most enemies except major bosses to sleep if you use it. It will work on this thing. If you keep on trying to devour it, you can actually get away with a shit ton of devour opportunities before it will wake back up. So that's what I do. I use a Nightmare Call and spam the shit out of Devour and hope I get lucky, and thankfully 10 minutes later, like when I first do it, I eventually get it. But the general strategy if you're not going for it is, well, firstly, you've got to pay attention that if it targets all of its attacks on one character, they are going to be at critical health. If it uses only physical attacks, look how many times this is missing, by the way, because it's got a physical attribute.
My turn.
But if you're going for a legit kill instead of just trying to cheese it by using Nightmare Call and spamming Devour, your biggest threat is the fact that if it single targets the entire party, they're going to be in critical. If it uses physical attacks and actually gets a critical hit on you, it's a good chance it will kill. This is the fight I was on about earlier, where later on, Charlotte's at full health, it bites Charlotte 3 times, or Charlotta, sorry, I don't know why I keep on saying Charlotte. Charlotta 3 times, all 3 of them are crits, it kills her.
Get ready.
No, I know why I'm saying Charlotte. It's because, and I've mentioned it on the time, I write books in my spare time. I've got a character called Charlotte in one of my books. That's why I'm modelling myself.
Let's go.
That's all that is Charlotta.
Can you handle?
Which, to be fair, is actually worth mentioning because one of the characters in my main books series that I've been working on, Mary and Vincent, coming to yours at some point in the future when I can sort out the marketing for it. It's ready to go. I just need a front cover, so I need to hire an artist because I have 0 artistic talent, and then it's just publishing, and I'll probably publish myself through Amazon. And I assure you, brace for it, when I eventually publish those books, I'll be advertising it at the start of every video. I will make a little snippet advertising video and squeeze it in at the start of every video saying, hey, I've written a book, please check it out on yada yada. But one of the main characters in Mary and Vincent the book series I've been. That's the triple crit, by the way. There against Charlotta. Do you see me like fucking getting angry? That when I was recording, I got angry at that point because I was like, "What the fuck? You got a triple crit on Charlotta? What the hell?" It genuinely wound me up that she just got taken from a full health to 0 because she just got super unlucky. But anyway, Mary in that book, her personality is based off Charlotta in
Prepare
this.
yourself.
Like the biggest inspiration for that character was Charlotta. Yeah, there are other things, and there's a lot of liberties I took because obviously I'm not just going to copy paste because that's ridiculous. But I did take
My turn.
inspiration from Charlotta with Mary.
Thank you.
Because Charlotta's one of my favourite characters, full stop, even outside of an Idea Factory game. I think she's a really fun character. And so, having a character like that, but in my setting, my story,
And crouch.
really played up. Yes, she's not a witch, it's not that much. It's more just the cheeky and slightly uncaring side of the personality that comes with Charlotta. Where she does care, she just knows how to pretend she doesn't and get under people's skin. And so she does it very effectively. I have Mary kind of be able to do that very well as well.
Sense the I'll do this.
So I'm just kind of watching my footage back. So I was like, there's another bit coming up that I was also kind of frustrated on before it heals itself. Like when it gets nearly dead, it straight up heals itself, and that frustrates me a lot too. Like, every time you see me like spaz out the camera, that's me getting angry.
Brace yourself.
But yeah, like with Mary and Vincent, just like something to talk. But actually, I think I first talked about Mary and Vincent because I've been working on it for years.
The dragon inside
In a Dragon Star video. I feel like we've gone a bit full circle here. I think it was a Dragon Star video because I think I brought it up before that Charlotta was a huge inspiration for one of my books. And it was actually, this game as a whole was one of the reasons I got back into writing to begin with. Because when I was a kid, I wrote a lot, but college destroyed all of my motivation and I straight up stopped for about 2 years. And it was when I picked up Dragon Star that I really like got back into the spirit of wanting to write. Because I say that I'd written a book that was
Let's go.
very that was kickstarted. I say kickstarted, not as in like the actual website, as in like I started trying to plan and work on it after I finished Persona 5. Because Persona 5, I talked about it quite openly, especially in my super old Let's Plays that I'm not the proudest of anymore because of how they've aged and some of the stuff I talked about in them. But
I'll do my best.
in college, simply put, kicked my ass. It kicked my ass brutally, and it put me in a very terrible mindset. Not just because of the actual college, but because of some of the people I knew and was very exposed to during that time. I was in a miserable mindset. Persona 5 became my primary escapism, which is why I've clocked in like 350 hours into it. But the problem is that I also have a bit of association problems with it, where when I play it, I think of the fact that I used it as my escapism from my mental headspace. So I struggle to play it that much nowadays. But when I went for it and first played through it, I wanted to write a book that was inspired by Persona 5 but doing its own thing, and it was based in like a seaside town in England instead of it being, you know, central Tokyo. But it had a similar-esque design of, instead of going into people's mind palaces, it was dream invading, and it was like a duo instead. And it's like it didn't get that far, but it got me back into the spirit of wanting to write, even though it wasn't great. It wasn't good, at least in my opinion. I know I'm biased because no artist, writer, you name it, will openly say their own work is really good. It's just something that doesn't happen. You're your own worst critic, and I know I am. Like, it took a hell of a lot for me to take enough pride in my work to even consider start pushing to publish Mary and Vincent. And that took a long time anyway, because of how much time I spent working on it before I was at a point where I was like, yeah, I want to see this actually be, even if people don't like it or it doesn't do that well, I want to be able to put it on a shelf. And so that's what pushed that. But before then, the Dream Invader like style I was working on, that didn't get off the ground as much as I really was gonna, and I ended up giving it up. But Dragon Star, when that came around, really got me into the spirit of it. And the funny thing is that when I started writing Mary and Vincent, it was just Mary. I had this idea for a character, that character was Mary, and I wanted to write a story around that character. And so I started writing notes and bits and pieces and working off of it, and eventually I started adding more characters that I was interested in doing, expanding it out and out and out, and then eventually we got Mary and Vincent and the Witch Hunter. Or Mary and Vincent the Witch Hunter, because there's no and, I don't know why I said that. It's probably because I'm nervous a little now, because I'm talking about my work, stuff that's me, so I always get a little nervous talking about it. And then that spawned into its 2 sequels that have also been worked on. Yes, I haven't published any of them yet. I've got 3 books working on it. I've got Mary and Vincent the Witch Hunter, Mary and Vincent the Midnight Slayer, and Mary and Vincent the Blood Maiden. The Blood Maiden, although yes, it's my latest one of the 3 I've worked on, so of course I'm going to feel more confident in it because I'm more experienced. But that, I genuinely, personally believe is, at least for now, the peak of my writing ability. I'm not going to... That's not trying to say it's outright good or anything like that. It's just trying to say it's the best I think I can do, for now. Obviously, as I get more experience, that will start to change. This is where I shift gears, by the way, in the fight. Shifting gears back to the topic. I used the Nightmare Core to put it asleep, and now I just only use Devours until I get it. Because the boss fight was frustrating me. So I just keep on pushing until eventually I get lucky, because it's at 40%. So if we can just not miss for once, I know we'll get it.
Goodbye. Oh, well. I'll do my best.
But the thing is, because we're still missing,
Get ready.
we're not hurting it to wake it back up, so it stays asleep, and then eventually we manage to just barely get it. And at this point I was like, oh, thank
That
God.
was a tough one. This is a crazy.
But yeah, I'm
I'm one
hoping that I can release those books soon and show it to the world, so to speak, and be like, yeah, there's cool things that I made. Well, hopefully you guys will see them as cool, I don't know.
taking it.
But I've rambled on enough in this part, because it's 4 boss fights, and not much to talk about, because the bosses are all very long. So hopefully this video didn't drag out too much. I promise it'll get more interesting again soon, because we've got more madness scenes coming up later on. But that being said, next time on Dragonstar Varnir, we'll continue our journey through the wilderness of spells to try and get back home to really get the experience of what happens once we get back, since the 3 kids are dead. But until then, you guys take care now.
Don't come
Peace.
again.